So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on the art of resume building. Today we have Mr. Shiva KK with us. So currently he is serving as Assistant National Academic Head, Soft Skills and Aptitude, SSA Vertical at iNurture Education Solutions Private Limited, Bangalore. Prior to this position, Mr. Shiva has 16 years of experience in soft skills training at various levels of the academic institutions, pharmacy colleges, and industry level soft skills training. So we are very fortunate to have Shiva with us to help us in building an attractive resume. I welcome Mr. Shiva on behalf of IT department. We are Siddhartha Engineering College for this webinar. Shiva sir.
Yeah, thank you, Pawan. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. You're audible, loud and clear. Yeah.
Yeah. 1 sec. Can you
Yes,
see
sir.
me?
I'm
Pawan?
able to see you. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Pawan, at the outset for inviting me for this webinar to interact with your students. And I would like to take your help that if any case like my voice is not audible or my PPT is not, viewable to the students, please let me know. By
Yes,
that
sure,
I can see, I can set the things right on my side. And we have already delayed, so I don't want to take much of your time. Good morning, all students. Hope you are able to listen me. I'm very happy that on Sunday at this time you are able to attend a webinar for your career, right? Improving your career chances and all that. This is a very happy thing for me. Right. In fact, I asked Mr. Pawan to tell you an instruction that you can use chat. I'm telling myself, Pawan, please excuse me for that. Dear students, you can use the chat box for typing your questions, telling answers for the part of discussion we have it. I would like to make this whole presentation as much as possible interactive. I know this is a very strange and difficult scenario from a regular classroom or person-to-person interaction sessions we find in our colleges or academic institutions. So we'll try to, overcome that handicap by being active on the chat box. Right, at any time, if you have any doubts, you can just, chunk the buttons on your keyboard and let me have your questions. By that, I'll try to answer them. Of course, at the end of the session, we'll have some time for all your questions to be answered. Am I clear, friends? Okay, if you're all ready, just press yes, letter S for you are ready. But I can see that you're all ready to eager on LAN. Okay, and I would like to directly go to the presentation. By that, we can start learning about how to build a resume that can fetch us job in our first attempt itself. Okay, give me a couple of seconds. All right. Or are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, what do you see now?
The blank screen.
Okay, are you sure about the color?
Yeah.
Has the PPT come?
Yes, sir. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Friends, we are going to learn about ABCs of the resume building from scratch to the highest, point of how we can build a complete, perfect, suitable resume for our jobs. The job market is getting tougher and tougher every day. We all know that. Thanks to Corona, we have realized that it is even tougher nowadays to get into a decent company which can pay us a regular check, right, and give us a satisfaction that we are contributing something to the society through our job. So in these tough times, our responsibility to create an interesting and impressive resume is much more. So when you're, you know, Pawan sir thought of having a session, right? I think he is right on the bullseye when he decided that we need to have a session on resume building, because it's very crucial, or the first and most important step in selecting, to get selected for a job. Okay, let us look into it. And in this session today, I would like to cover the entire, gamut of resume building, right, from beginning to the end as much as possible. Even though we are a few minutes late, I'll try to cover up all the points that are essential for us and make us, right, able to make a resume. Like we will be enabled to write a resume. We will look into that now. Right, and I think I was given my introduction by Pawan. This is Siva KK. Right now I am associated with INACHO as the National Academic Head for Soft Skills and Aptitude Vertical, where in which I'll be, looking over all the national level soft skills trainers who are working under INACHO, and training them, recruiting, and deploying them various requirements, and providing content development and helping students to get placement. This is what my job role is. Prior to that, I've been with the industry and academics for about 16 years, being an M-panel trainer for American company LHH IDECO for South India, and so many numerous engineering technical institutions like SRM University, even PVP Siddhartha, Bapatla Engineering College, Kurnola Engineering College. These are a few institutions I've been associated with as part of my career. So having said that, we'll jump into the actual content of today's session. Right, I would like to have a look at this for a second to understand what actually we're going to cover in today's session. We'll be discussing what actually resume is, what words generally we use as interchangeable for resume, what kind of resume we need to prepare based on our context and the kind of job we are doing with it, or the kind of the place where we are in our career presently, and that decides your type of resume. And then we need to work on to understand what are the very basic tidbits of resume, what are the things we need to basically take care about it to make our resume more interesting. And then we go deep into the various sections of resume. We delve about each section in detail as much possible, and give you hands-on practice how you need to write or fill that section of resume, and understanding what is the purpose of that particular section, and how that section serves purpose of getting a job. And then I'll spend some time on bringing out some common mistakes are generally done by our students or employees or job seekers when they make a resume. This is the whole map of our today's webinar. So we would like to proceed further. I hope you're all ready. Okay, Pawan, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not able to see the chat box. If there's anything important, just let me know, by that I can respond to that. Thank you.
Sure, definitely.
Dear students, see that a resume is a very crucial thing. It will tell a lot about you, what kind of person you are. Also will be informed in the resume through your hobbies or your interests, or the activities you do, the extracurricular activities you participate in it. And more importantly, it decides whether you will be called in for interview or not. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that the recruiters will get hundreds of resumes a month, sometimes even thousands, depending upon the vacancy they have or the need to recruit people. The recruiters have a very big headache of shortlisting candidates, even though they all seems to have same kind of qualifications by and large. So the first thing that actually differentiates you from your competition is the resume you are sending into the company. Now they are actually using automatic resume trackers to identify the right candidates and avoid irrelevant, right, useless or not applicable resumes that may flood into their offices or their desktops. Of course, we are sending emails now, right? Digital resumes. So it's important that we craft our resume in such a way that it will help us to get a call, for an interview. At least that it must be ensuring it. and what we do at interview is a different game. But our resume should at least assure us that we get a call for interview. By that, we'll have a fair chance to expose our skills to the recruiter and get selected. It so it determines your selection options, right? So you must be very careful about designing your resume, what need to incorporate in the resume, what need to avoid in the resume, how much we need to incorporate, what is required, how much can be suppressed, how much of information can be, slightly designed in such a way that it gets the attention of the recruiter or the right attention. If you get attention for wrong reasons, right, your chances will be very bleak. So you should get attention for right reasons, and you should know how to draft your resume. Let us look into that. Right, first let us try to understand what actually these three interchangeable words, right, which we generally use when it comes to preparing a resume. And I will try to explain you each of them in detail, and then you'll understand why I prefer to call it resume but not biodata or curriculum vitae. Okay, there is a clear distinction between these three aspects, even though they appear to be same, and most of the people use them without much thought as they are same. No, they are not. In fact, biodata talks about your biographical information. The word bio itself is self, right? So if you talk, it is talking about the your race, your date of birth, your gender, the place of your residency, right, and then your marital status and your occupation. This is purely personal details. In fact, the job experiences and academic qualifications are not given any importance in your biodata, right? They have a very least importance, or at least they're just part of the other equally or more important sections in biodata. So, which we cannot call a resume biodata, even though it is easy to call it, right? The purpose of biodata and the focus of biodata is essentially different from resume and curriculum vitae. Okay, hope I'm sure that you understand what biodata is. It is just a database of your biographical information. That's all. Okay, but whereas curriculum vitae is a lot lengthier and it has a more bigger purpose than biodata. It is actually a detailed resume in which all full history of your academic credentials, achievements are presented. You might have seen curriculum vitae when people come to your colleges or institutions as chief guests, right? Some of you might have been as part of your emceeing for those events, right? Reading out the biography of the guest, right? What actually you are reading there is actually the curriculum vitae, right? Which doesn't not only include, right, the biographical data of the recruit, the person. It also has, right, more academic information, work related experience in a very detailed way, right? But it is not meant for seeking a job. The difference, the essential difference between resume and curriculum vitae is curriculum vitae is a complete picture of you as a professional, okay, and which is generally used at high levels of work or profession. But whereas resume is actually a condensed representation of your skills and your work experience along with qualifications that will match to a particular job or a job requirement. Make sure that the three keywords are there. One is your skills and your qualifications and experience, and it must be related to a particular job. So these are the three important words you need to understand when you have to differentiate resume from the curriculum vitae. Am I clear? So when I say this is meant for a specific job, I mean that you need to have different kind of resumes for different kind of job requirements or jobs you are applying for. The basic academic qualifications might be different, but the skill set that required for a particular kind of job may not be exactly same for the skills that are required for another kind of job. So when you're sending for more than one type of job, you are required or you are expected to prepare different resumes, each for each variety of job. For example, I'm an academician as well as a trainer. So if I have to prepare a resume for myself and I apply for a kind of a job where the trainer functions and skills are very important, I need to tailor my resume in such a way that my training aptitude and my training, skill set should be given more focus than my academic qualifications and skills. Right? If I'm applying for an administrative role, even in these two varieties, I need to change slightly, right? Highlighting my administrative capabilities, by that the recruiter will understand that I am the apt candidate for the job. So resume is not a single one, whereas curriculum vitae is a single one. Only thing is that it gets updated year after year or months after month. But the curriculum vitae has the same information. Biodata is exactly, it doesn't change much, right? Whereas resume changes, right? And the resume actually need to be changed according to the job requirement we are sending. Okay. So you should understand that each job demands a different resume. You should be diligent enough to prepare or craft a resume depending upon the required skill sets that the job demands. That's where your success lies. So it is specific to the position. That's what I want to you understand very, very clearly. Okay. Hope we understood the difference between curriculum vitae, resume, and biodata. Don't get confused one for the other. These three have three different purposes, three different structures, three different contents. Okay, but they may be all about the same person. But the way they are to be presented must be different. Okay, I'll tell you how it can be understood. You people all watch movies, right? Okay, I'll take you back to a little Esther years. By that you'll understand what I'm saying. How the it is different. So if you are watching a movie where Lord Rama is the protagonist, is a hero, Ravana is shown as a villain, bad, cruel, rude, right, preposterous, all the kind of negative things, vices are attached to his character because the Rama is the hero in the movie. But if you go to the some of the movies which we have in even on Telugu, right, you can see that the Ravana is the protagonist. Then things change drastically how we project the character of Ravana. The Ravana becomes the chief character in the movie. Then the good qualities of Ravana also need to be highlighted. In fact, the vices or the bad qualities are the default failure of the Ravana is projected as slightly as a tragic event than as just a kind of a destiny for bad behavior. You understand the difference? So the same Ravana in one movie is a villain, a cruel, wicked person. In another movie, an unfortunate person. That's how they project this. So this is how your resume need to be also crafted according to the job which you are applying for. Okay, you need to know which details need to be highlighted, which details need to be sidelined, which details need to be mentioned subtly, which details need to be ignored altogether depending upon the skill set the job requires. So this is the important skill one must develop when one tries to prepare a resume. We will look into that aspects in the next slides coming. Okay, so now we understand what the resume, biodata, and right curriculum vitae is. But most of the time we have this doubt as well. Can you tell me whether it is resume, resume, or resume? There are three different spelling variations are there. You can find it even if you Google it right now. You'll find all these three different words which will be pointing out to the same concept. But which one needs to be there? If you are putting a heading in your resume, which word should you use? A or B or C? You can type your answers there. Okay. By that, I will understand how much you are able to follow the difference. These are not exactly like same, right? Pawan,
Yes, yes, sir.
is my slideshow gone?
Yes, sir. Slideshow gone, and you have to just
Let
start
me
again.
No,
Okay.
I'll start from there where I started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I just want to know how the people are responding on the chat. That's what I tried. Okay, guys, small glitch. Forget about it. We'll see. What is the correct word which we have to use as a heading for our resume if you have to use it? Yes, most of you have guessed it. Yes, exactly. It is option A. But if you see that some of the standard dictionaries accept option B as well as option C as alternatives for resume. But I believe option A should be used because this is the actual word that we have borrowed from French language, which means summary of a person or detailed summary details of a thing. So definitely we are providing summary of our work, experience, qualifications or skills. So obviously option A is the correct spelling. You should have to use it. But in Word, when you're typing it, generally, if you set American English as a default language for your Word document, you will not find this word resume when you're typing it because option B comes in there. Because that is what presumably most of the Americans use that word for resume. But the problem with the option B is it is actually a verb in British English, which means resume, to start the work again. For example, just now I resumed the PPT for the slideshow mode. Okay. So when I resume it, it is actually a verb, not the noun resume, a summary statement of your skills and experience. So the problem with Word document is when you try to type this as a heading, it will give you option B. So you will end up how to get those accent marks on two E's. Okay. My suggestion here is it just type RES and leave the space. Automatically a Word document which shows that it is wrong spelling, and when you right click on it you will get the options. You select the option in which list resume is there. This is what universally everybody does whoever is using Microsoft Word, because by default they're using American English. Okay, so my suggestion to you is use this word as a heading for your resume. And in fact, it needs to be pronounced as resume. Both the accent marks will give you a typical pronunciation of a sound to the word, which is different from resume. Okay, so we are discussing about building a resume, not resume. Be clear about it. Okay, and I encourage you to use this because this is the standard format of the word. Okay, keeping this thing aside, we'll get into the more serious things of resume writing, understanding what actually resume we need to prepare for. What kind of resume is your resume? What resume we should use? Are there any kinds of different kinds of resumes are there? What should be my resume like? Are there formats are there? Which format is suitable to me? Am I selecting right format for my resume? Because when you just click in, when you Google it, of course, this is a quite common phenomena for our youngsters that right we immediately Google things like we can ask resume templates. We'll get millions of templates being flooding into our laptop the moment we get connected to that. But thing is that which one to select? That's where actually our judgment should be used. Each resume type has its own specific purpose and has its own specific format, structure, and requirements. So we need to be very choosy when it comes to selecting what kind of resume we need to select. It. Basically, right, you can divide your resume into three varieties. Yes, one is chronological resume, another is functional resume, the third one is combination of both. Okay, so when you are actually talking about the different types of resume, reverse chronological, functional, combo of all these things, these three have, I can say, three different purposes, as I already told you, right? Reverse chronological, let us try to understand it. It is actually chronological list of the things, summary, but in a reverse way. Functional focus on most crucial set of our work experiences. Combo takes both of these about two, best of the both. So which one we need to choose it? To tell you what to choose of these three, I would like to give you a brief description of what actually each one is. First, let us look at the first variety, reverse chronological resume. In fact, as the name suggests, it is written in reverse chronological order. Chronological order means in the order of things happened. 2020, 21, 22, 23, right? We have this is chronological order. Reverse chronological order is you give the latest on top and the next latest on below it, 2020, 2019, 2018, that is reverse chronology. So when you are trying to highlight your experiences, right, from the latest to the earliest, right, you are actually putting data in reverse chronology. So reverse chronological resume is the most commonly used resume for job applications for one simple reason that it clearly tells to your recruiter that what are you right now, because your current position, your current status, or your current point of career is clearly depicted on top of all other things. So automatically a recruiter will get an insight into, right, what kind of point of career you are at right now. So that will give him an idea to surmise whether you fit into the role or not in a few minutes of looking into your resume. So it is most popular resume, but doesn't mean that it is the one you need to take anyway. See, we are not going to take one resume format because it is most popular. We shouldn't. We have to take the resume which suits to our requirements, needs, and which ensures better attention from our competitors. But understanding this variety will help us to make a decision whether we need this kind of resume or do we need something else. So the most important aspect of reverse chronological resume is it provides a lot of emphasis on the work experience, especially from the latest work experience to earliest work experiences. Suppose you have 10 years of work experiences in your reverse chronological resume, you will be starting from your latest venture to the earliest venture, highlighting what responsibilities you have handled, what accomplished you achieved as part of that responsibility or in that role. Okay, this will help you, right, to highlight what need to be given attention by the recruiter, and it will make the recruiter job even easier because he knows that what are you right now, what were you before that, and how did you start the beginning of your career and where did you reach. It will give him an easy scaling of assessment how you traveled in your career path. So people with a lot of work experience, right, prefer reverse chronological resume because that work experience is highlighted and is intended to help him to get attention from the recruiter. Okay, this is the very basic structure and function or focus of the reverse chronological resume. Okay, and let us look the other two varieties also and decide which we have to use as students, as the fresh graduates from the campuses. Okay, let us look into the next variety, that is functional resume. As the name suggests, it talks about the activities you have done. That means what skills you used, and then what roles you have, handled. How these two are connected, and how that can be attributed to your current job application. So this doesn't focus on the years of experience. It rather focuses on your skill set, highlighting the skill set. There is a reason why this resume format has emerged. The reverse chronological resume format has emerged because person wants to highlight his number of years of experience and the various roles he has performed. Whereas functional resume has emerged because the aspirant or the candidate wants to highlight what kind of skills he has, by that what kind of role he can probably fit into when he is applying for a job. This helps the recruiter to easily zero in on where the candidate suits to the job which he is applying for it, because the skill connection can be established between the required skills for the job and existing skills of the candidate. This can be easily done if you have made a functional resume. And the most important thing is that there are reasons why the functional resume is very, very helpful. One is that due to some reasons or other, you have been out of the job for some time, like a gap in your career. This happens obvious reasons, like sometimes due to personal reasons, sometimes like the pandemics like we are experienced right now, COVID-19, right? These are the things which we cannot really control. So because of such certain unavoidable reasons you might be out of your job. For example, let us say that there is a, now it is very much encouraged in industries, corporate sector, that inviting the mothers back to the corporate jobs, right? Because in Indian scenario, most of the time, women, when once they get married and have kids, they tend to forego their career and be settled with their family life as housewives. But companies are wanting them to back onto the corporate force, workforce, human resources, and they're giving a chance again to these women. So they might be having 2, 3 years of gap in their career. It doesn't mean that they don't have skills. They are highly skilled, but their priorities are quite different at particular point of time. So they may not have continued in the job. So that gap need to be explained or need to be played down. So we don't want to highlight the gap to be seen by the recruiter in the very first, look at our resume. Of course, during our interview and further interactions, obviously that can be a point of discussion for the recruiter and you. But at the first stage of being called in for interview, your resume should not be thrown away because there is a glaring, obvious gap in your career. So you need to, dovetail, you need to slightly turn the aspects in your resume by that other things are highlighted than the gap in your career. So that purpose can be served with functional resume, right? Because you'll be highlighting your skill sets than your job experience per se, right? So obviously this helps for the people who have got a break in their career for some considerable time, and most importantly it helps people who doesn't have much work experience. Yes, you're right, it clicks with you, right? It is good for students, fresh graduates. So functional resume is the most suitable form for fresh graduates because they obviously have not much experience to talk about. Okay, so obviously, yes, they need to highlight their skills and the things they have learned in their campuses, right? As a student and as a kind of student member in the campus in various activities and clubs, whatever it is. So functional resume provides exact suitable platform for you to depict or to highlight those skills. Yes, you are right. Now you have an understanding that functional resume is a better choice for a fresh graduate than reverse chronological resume. Come on, don't make a judgment at wait. You got one more to check out, right? And that is combination resume. All right, I'm telling you guys, we are not going to put these titles as title of our resumes. We'll just put as a resume, or we just put our name as the title of the resume. Understand that? We will be only structuring it as far as it is. So don't write on resume, it is functional resume, it's reverse chronological resume, or it is combination resume. It is for our understanding. We are trying to dissect it, cut into pieces, and trying to look into it deep inside to understand what is the purpose of that particular resume. So when it comes to combination resume, as you guessed, it combines best of both. It combines best of your functional resumes, it combines best of your right reverse chronological resume, right? People with considerable experience in industry, right, can use this resume highlighting right their skill sets at the same time. Okay, so what does it do? It gives a recruiter an easier job to find out whether the candidate has relevant experience for the job, whether he has gained relevant skills for the job which he is applying for. So this is doing more than a reverse chronological resume and then just a mere functional resume. So the most important aspect you need to keep in mind is try to see whether you can use a combination resume. Okay, but remember, this helps especially for those people who are changing their careers. For example, if I'm changing from academics to administrative role, or administrative role to academics, or if I'm changing from corporate to academics or academics to corporate, right? Combination resume will help me to get better place than my competitors. As simple as that, because I'll highlight my experience is that I am not idle all these years. I've been doing a lot of work in particular area or different fields of areas, and I'm also showing that because of working in those kind of roles and responsibilities, I've gained all these skill sets which will be directly applicable to my new job. So this is how I'm telling to the recruiter through the combination resume. So you understand this combination resume serves both the purpose of reverse chronological resume and functional resume. So now you decide which fits your bill, your requirement. Of course, as we don't have much professional experience, I still believe that as a fresh graduate, we are expected to use the structures of functional resume. But these are three varieties for our understanding. Once you go deep into your career for a few years, you'll be knowing that you can use combination resume or functional resume depending upon your likes and the company culture which you are applying for it and the job role which that you are applying for. That mostly decides how you need to craft your resume, the job, the key areas of skills they're expecting, the experience they are expecting from the candidate tells you what kind of resume you are actually need to prepare for it. As a student, I suggest you, right, we need to use functional resume, right? So we'll focus on the various aspects of that student resume in further slides. Okay. So then the question comes, which format I should use? Yes, it is functional resume, preferably for us, because we have very limited experience or sometimes zero experience as an employee. So my suggestion is better we adopt the structure of functional resume. We will discuss the aspects of that functional resume in detail in the forthcoming slides. Right. Before we go into deep about the various sections of the resume, it is important for us to understand the basic aspects of resume, like what should be the font size, how much should be the length of my resume, what kind of paper should I use, what should be the printing quality, whether should I use Word document or should I use PDF, or should I use video resume. This is now catching up trend in the world. People are making video resumes and sending them to their prospective recruiters, right? So you need to decide upon which format is suitable for the job you're applying for. So these are the very basic things. We'll look into it briefly, right? And then we'll go into the important aspects of freshers resume. See, when it comes to the length of resume, right, the length is decided by what kind of aspects we are going to highlight in your resume. As a fresher, I suggest you cannot have more than 2 pages resume. Even in many cases, the experts advise us to give the resume just to 1 page. Why? Because recruiter doesn't spend much time on looking into your resume in the first phase. Maximum of 6 seconds. This is what the research says. Can you believe that? The recruiter looks into your resume in the first place just for 6 seconds. Just like that, he gives a glance, the kind of glance you give for a particular item when you're browsing in your Amazon or Flipkart online trading platforms, right? Right, you speedily skip through it and browse all the items. You don't spend more than few seconds on each variety until you get the best thing. The same thing the recruiter does when he has hundreds of resumes, flooding into his office, and he has to select something. He can't afford days and days studying your resume like doing a PhD. So he spends on an average 6 seconds, and that goes on positive side. If your resume has some key important aspects and that matches with the job, you may spend few more seconds to go into it and put it in the basket of shortlist for interviews and throw away the remaining resumes into dustbin. We cannot really digest this fact, but this is how the recruiters work. Otherwise they will need 3 4 5 lives to do one recruitment. So when they can't spend more than 6 seconds, how much of information can you put in the resume? Can you put pages and pages of information? No, you can't afford to do that, because he will simply ignore your resume if there is too much, which he has to spend a lot of time understanding what actually you want to convey. So the skill of writing brief and effective resume comes into more important forefront aspect, because the recruiter doesn't spend much time on your resume. So you have to keep it to the minimum length, highlighting only the relevant experience and skill sets, by that it hits the attention of the recruiter. So I suggest you don't go beyond 2 pages, right? 2 pages is a lot for a fresher candidate unless you got enormous achievements and things that are relevant for the job. Generally, you might be having different achievements, but you need to check whether all the achievements will really speak about the job you are applying for and the skills that match with the job. Then you need to summarily eliminate those things from your resume and make it crisp, short, brief, right? They say it in public speaking. They say it, make your speech you know short. They said you be kiss keep it short and simple. KISS. That's what they said. So you have to keep your resume short and simple, only highlighting what is the required skill set matching with the job you are applying for it. Then you have the highest chances of being called in for the interview. So don't go beyond 2 pages. One is even good, right? If you can put everything in one page, that is even sufficient. If there is something more that you think the recruiter needs to know, maybe you can go to one more page. So not beyond that if you are a fresher. And moreover, don't make your resume curriculum vitae. There is a quite difference, right? If you put a lot of unnecessary information that is not relevant to the job, you are actually turning your resume into a curriculum vitae, which doesn't solve the purpose. So keep it in 1 or 2 pages at the most. Then comes the question of font. We can try to be as much creative as possible here, but the point is that will we appear professional and serious job seeker for the recruiter? So if you use a Comic Sans font, the kind of font you see in comic stories like Tom and Jerry titles and all that, that is called Comic Sans font, right? Do you think the recruiter will take you seriously? Probably not. He might be heartily laughing at the way you typed in your resume and laugh at your resume to the dustbin. So you should take very professional approach when you are using a font. So the best thing is using, right, more popular fonts like Times New Roman, Arial, right? These kind of varieties, because they are easily readable. Because readability of your resume is very, very important. If your resume doesn't look readable or clumsy or messy, right? Recruiter just frowns his eyebrows and say that, okay, come on, I cannot waste my time on this. He, he thinks that way, and you will end up losing the opportunity. So try to depend upon the most established fonts to get you a chance. So Times New Roman, Arial, right, Helvetica, Georgia, right? Don't go for classic English and that kind of varieties which are good for cinema titles, but not for your resume font. Okay, right? And then use typically one of the two kinds of fonts throughout your resume. Why I'm saying two fonts is one kind of font for the headings, another kind of font for the text. But more comfortably use the same kind of font for the text and headings, but change the font size. 14-point size font is preferable for headings and 12-point for the text. This is universally acceptable standardized variety, right? That serves the purpose. Why we need to make a standardized? At one point I'm saying that you need to stand out for your competition, and now I'm saying that you should follow standard varieties of your font size. You probably have a doubt now that how can we stand out of a competition if we use any font which everybody else is using, where in their resumes. The question is, guys, it is something like our cell phones, right? For example, if you're using a cell phone which the charging pin is different from the standard charging pin varieties, you know how difficult it is in times of emergencies. Even if there is somebody to help you out with a charger, the charger pin doesn't fit into your cell phone because your cell phone charger socket is different, right? Being different is important, but being different for the sake of different is foolish. Okay, when we send in a resume to the recruiter, our idea of sending resume is to be shortlisted for the interview with our skills and our presentation, not with standing out because we look odd out of the ordinary. Okay, being different from crowd is different from being odd among the crowd. So don't try to be odd, be the different. Okay, so use the standard varieties. By that, the readability is easy and impressive for the recruiter. And I've seen that people are very negligent when they're choosing the font size. Sometimes they choose 10 or 12. Basically, that is what's set in there as a default, excuse me, in their Word document. Without even checking that, they will type in there and send the resume, right? What happens is the recruiter thinks that you are careless or you are not very serious about your job. So set the things, set the font size according to the standardization and readability. So keep it 12 for text, 14 for your subheadings and headings, right? And use the standard varieties like Times New Roman or Calibri, Helvetica, these kind of font types. When you want to highlight something like percentage in your academic qualifications or the university name because it is a prestigious name, right? Or the course is very highly in demand, use bold and italics to highlight that particular word or a phrase. By that, it stands out from the ordinary part of the statement and takes the attention of the recruiter. This is the strategy you need to use, right? And I can say that you can use even color resume, provided you don't use too much of colors and make it look like a rainbow. Okay, you use colors which are primary, which are easy for the eye to read about, and which can highlight important aspect of it. Otherwise, go for monochromatic resume, right? But you can use bold and italics options to highlight that part of the phrase or a statement part of the resume which needs to be highlighted by that the recruiter will take notice of it. These things you need to keep in mind when it comes to font of the resume. Hope I'm very much clear about it. Then we go to the paper quality, size, and all that, the weight of it, and all that. So this is general paper, right? Right, 8.5 inches to 11 inches size. That means A4 size, and 20 lb is the width of it, or the weight of it. We can say that the 500 ream you will find it, right? Ordinary A4 papers, like that is the minimum thing you can use it. I don't suggest you should go for bond papers like we make for agreements and certificates. No, you don't need to use bond paper, but a decent white color paper is acceptable, right? With A4 size. That is what paper size should be like. Again, the standardization and universal right usage is the thing you need to keep in mind. And what while getting it printed, get it printed with good quality printer, because if the letters get smudged or the ink spreads to the paper because of whether paper quality is poor or because the printer is defective, your career will get effect out of it. So don't be negligent about these kind of small things. These petty things really have a lot of impact on your preparedness for your resume and your impression on the recruiter. So you should pay utmost attention to your recruiter, right? The way you are presenting your resume document. So get it printed with good leisure quality printer, right? On a decent paper where the ink doesn't get smudged or spread over the document. You are not making an abstract art on the resume, right? You are actually typing some important text on it. If you're making abstract art on the resume, you can sprinkle ink here and there and make it look very much attractive. And like you say that you are Picasso, you are not there to be Picasso there. You are there to be picked up for a job. So make sure that the paper quality is good, printer is working effectively, and the print quality is highly impressive. It is your responsibility. You cannot blame for that anybody, right? When it comes to format of it, if you're sending a text document, better use PDF format than just Word format, because in my experience, I've seen that when the companies are taking resumes, when the Word documents come in as a soft copy, there is always a possibility that the Word documents get messy because the formats may not match in it, right? The font may not be fitting into the recruiter's system, or the recruiter's resume tracking system doesn't have compatible font system with the sender's resume. So better change that into a PDF format where your structure is neatly laid down and can't be altered by anybody or anything in the system or in the software. By that you will get attention for your qualities and qualifications. So convert into PDF. There are a lot of free PDF converters available at 1 or 2 pages. They don't even charge anything. You know it. You might be doing it all the time, right? So do that for your resume also. Send the PDF document. Okay. Use a Word format in your system for later additions, changes, or modifications. And then again, when you need to send the resume, update it, just convert into again the updated resume into PDF format and send it to the recruiter. Simple, little care, much focus on the things, well prepared in advance, will save a lot of time and your career most of the cases. So be careful about these basic aspects, okay, because they reflect your attitude towards the job you're applying for. Not just your skill set, your attitude also matters in your selection. I don't need to stress on this point because you're already aware of that. Okay, so make sure that the margins are set properly and it looks decent and not too much text into your resume. So 1 inch on either side will make your text readable. So keep that minimum of 1 inch, 1.5 inch also can be possible. You can do that, but if you make margins very wider, you'll be running into the next and next pages, which will be again affecting your attention. So try to keep maximum of minimum of 1 inch and maximum 1.5 inches, not more than that. Then we'll go into the deeper aspects of resume, understand what actually sections of different resumes, different sections of it, and we'll see how we need to formulate it by that we'll get maximum attention for our resume. Right, we need to have contact information there. We need to write career objective followed by educational qualifications, work experience if there is any, right, and provide a column for honors, skills, or achievements if we have, and then personal profile, few personal details like your hobbies, interest, and your age or gender, marital status, the languages something like that, and reference section where you provide references. I'll discuss all of these in detail. Okay, as we proceed further. Pawan, are we good?
Yes, sir, we are good.
Good. I hope students are following as well.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Sir, one small addition from my side, sir. So
Please,
many
please.
of our students have done internships and all. Most of them, not many.
Okay,
Most of them,
okay.
90% of them have done internship information, internships already. So
Okay.
where they need to keep these particular information and how to write that information also will help us, sir.
Sure. I'll tell exactly when we reach that work experience column over there.
Sure, sir. Thank
Because
you,
I've
sir.
already worked on that. Thanks for reminding me that anyway, Pawan.
Yes,
Right, we
sir.
got solid 1 more hour, I guess. I think I'll try to cover as much as possible. All right. Okay, guys, let us go into each of these sections deeply and try to see how we need to actually craft. This is actual dynamics and mechanics of resume. So far, we try to understand what resume is. Now we are trying to look into it. It's physical aspects of resume. By that, we actually can do something in this aspect and make ourselves, stand out among our competitors. First, let us look into this basic thing, the contact information. It is simple. Everybody knows it. On top of your resume, you'll be writing this contact information where it means your name, write your address, your contact number, your email ID. This is what basically comes in there. Gone are the days where you write all your postal address, right, with current address and permanent address. No, nowadays people are not able to want that because you have your email and phone. So wherever you are on this globe, right, you can be contacted. So you don't need to waste this space on top of your page. Okay, with lot of address part of that, there can be maximum of 3 or 4 lines, right? Your name, right? Your phone number, your email ID, maybe the current residential location, like the town you are residing in, Vijayawada or Mumbai, Bangalore or Hyderabad, whatever it is. You don't need to start with your home house number, flat number, apartment name, and the block number, and then all the things, streets, landmarks, everything. No, we are not helping the Google Maps to, identify our location, isn't it? We are just trying to give them and our recruiters to a link where they can contact us back. So you have to make sure that it is simple and most importantly accurate and up to date. I tell you what happens when there is a problem with your contact information, or when you don't access your, you know, contact tools which you provide there in your resume. It happened in my own life. When I was in college, right, Dell company visited our campus for campus recruitment. No, I was yeah, lucky enough to be shortlisted for the final round of interview after the first three rounds of interviews done on the campus. Right, the written test, and then group discussion followed by technical interview. This all been done on the campus itself. I've been through all these things successfully. Ah, by God's grace, right? I've been through all these things, and then I was shortlisted the final kind of HR interview at the office location itself. I'm talking about 18 years back thing when I was in my PZ. Right. So what happens is that I gave my email ID on my resume over to them. Right in 2002 or 4, like we are not very good with emails. Right. Even I wasn't very avid internet user then. Right. So what happens is that after a few days, I checked my email ID. I got a call from the Dell company for to attend, interview the day before. Did you get that? I checked the mail the day after my actual interview. I missed an opportunity because I did not check the mail which I given on my resume as contact mail address. Now you understand how important to use updated, accurate contact information on your resume. Recently, it had happened in my office also. We are recruiting people, soft skills trainers for various universities, right, as part of our training programs and students. There is one particular candidate whose email ID is just mail.com, not Gmail, Cmail, Hmail, nothing like that, mail.com. So we have, because of the COVID, we are conducting, personal interviews online via Google Meets and Skype. So when my assistant has created the Google Meeting interview demo schedule, he has shared that mail link to the candidate, the aspirant. But what happened was my assistant thought that the candidates misspelled the mail ID just as mail.com. In fact, it is gmail.com. Did you understand it? The candidate has mail.com as the service provider, but we are all using Gmail nowadays. My assistant believed that the candidate also is using Gmail ID, but forgot to type G. So he has sent the contact, link to the candidate with gmail.com ID, which did never find the candidate at all. How did I all know that? I contacted back the candidate after 2 days, find out why he did not attend the interview or the demo. This is what I realized. Of course, the mistake was done on our part, so we have to give another chance for him to attend the demo. The point here is that your contact information is very crucial, right? Because that decides your opportunity forever. Whether you didn't check your mail regularly, whether you didn't attend the call which your recruiter might have sent, gave you call, right? Or your email address is faulty or mistakenly spelled over there, you are the person who is going to be affected by that. So you should be very careful about your contact information. You need to double check the spelling, you need to check the dots, underlines, right? Underscores, numbers while you're typing in it. For example, if your email ID has 23 something, like by mistake, if you type in 32, right, the mail will go to somewhere. It will not go anywhere at all. It will be roaming in the right on the web world searching for you, but you will be losing your opportunity. So make sure that your contact information is accurate. Double check it before you send it to the recruiter. So it is important to get it right. Right. So as I said already, in 2 occasions, you need to pay extra attention to your email address. Check it out whether you spell it correctly. Sometimes the text keyboard will be in default, capitalization of first letters, wherein which your email doesn't have first letter capital, email all letters are small letters. So if you type in there, what happens with it automatically takes the first letter capital, and you'll get your email ID wrong. You'll never receive a mail at all. So when it comes to email address, this is your existence. So understand that you type in it correctly and double check it, verify it, right, and then only send it to the recruiter. And there is one crucial and funny aspect to it also. When I see emails of students, when I try to help them to correct their resumes and help them to provide feedback, the students most of the times are very funny, funky, hilarious, ridiculous email addresses, right? Of course, we tend to be fun, we tend to be passionate, and we tend to be fashionable about our email IDs because they sound very, very funky to our friends, but they don't look professional, right? So you better create a professional email ID, and that can be useful to you. I remember somebody was, telling a joke in WhatsApp. You don't need to ask the age of a girl or a woman. You just ask their email ID. Yeah, you got it. In their email ID, typically they used to keep their year of birth or date of birth in that, right? Subbalakshmi83@gmail.com. You can understand that Subbalakshmi was born in 83. Understand, our Subbalakshmi might have born on 8th of March, right? Or 3rd of August. Either way, but that is very much giveaway clue, isn't it? So don't try to keep such kind of email IDs. So when you are trying to create a professional email ID, the email provider gives you a lot of options because your expected or your intended email ID is taken by already. But don't fall for that. Try to create something which is easy and which is giving any clue to other person like your date of birth, your location, something like that. You shouldn't be giving your details so easy. So try to create a professional email ID if you don't have one. For example, you say it. This is the format you can generally use it. Even all corporates follow this format. Your first name underscore or dot your last name. That means your surname. Or if you have three names like first name, middle name, and the surname, you can use first name and middle name as well. And the email provider like gmail.com or hotmail.com or rediffmail.com. So this is a kind of a professional way of creating an email. I suggest you try to have a professional email. Okay, you can keep your funky, fancy email ID for your personal purposes. Okay, you see this kind of email IDs are very common, right? Like our Facebook IDs, which comes with a lot of fun. Casanova6969 at emailpulse.com, right? These are actually revealing about what kind of person you are also. So a recruiter will think that you are not very serious candidate, right? Any kind of a slight displeasure or discomfort on the part of recruiter will affect your job chances. So I suggest you try to create a professional email ID and make sure that you spell it correctly when you're typing it. Double check it before you send that document to the recruiter, and keep on checking your emails frequently. Otherwise, you might be missing an opportunity like I had missed with the Dell International. Okay, so don't do that mistake. So the next important thing after contact information is you go to the career objective. This is where I find a lot of fresher resumes, have a problem. Most of the time we copy our career objective from our friends, our sisters, brothers, or our seniors, or somebody else, or some catchy career objective which we find in Google, right? But that doesn't really define what kind of person you are, what skills you have, what kind of job you are applying for it. The career objectives you find available with your friends or on Google might give you an idea how to draft a career objective. You are not expected to copy it down verbatim, word for word, and paste it in your resume and expect that you will be receiving a call. Your career objective should be individual specific, focusing on what skills you have. Okay, and I will spend considerable time over here. By that, we can learn how to write a career objective. First, let us see what exactly career objective does. It is actually telling the recruiter that why you are applying for the job, right? And how you're going to add value to the company. See, when I say why you are applying for the job, don't say that you're applying for money. Of course, we are all do jobs for money, but money is not a primary thing that need to be focused, right? When you're looking for a career, it is something more. But something more is using your skills for a productive work that can add value to the company as well as society at large. That's what you need to do a job for. Why we need to work? We need to work for that. Okay. So when you're applying for the job, you need to specify what exactly you're going to add value to it, by that company will realize that you will be an asset to it. Most of the times I see students write that I want to work in a progressive organization where I can have an opportunity to work with big corporations and learn. Yes, it sounds to be very optimistic and very genuine and very positive. But the problem with such kind of objectives is you are all saying what you gain, what you want to gain, but you are not telling what you are going to give to the company. You understand? So if you have to give something to the company, only then you'll get hired. So your objective should identify, right? Should highlight what skills you have and how you're going to apply those skills for the company's purpose, goal, or vision. When if you draft your career objective in this matching way, you have the highest chance of being called in and moreover recruited for the job. This all comes from clarity of understanding what the job is, what the company's role, and how what are your skills and how your skills can be mapped with the job requirement. Your career objective simply, briefly does all this, right? So an effective career objective statement in your resume, right, will get you the better focus and attention from the recruiter. I think when I say that recruiter spends 6 seconds on a resume, and on average, he spends, I'm sure, 2, 3, 2 to 3 seconds on your career objective, and the next 2, 3 seconds on your qualifications and your work experience or like your internship, whatever it is. You understand that? So you have to make sure that this career objective is standing out, allowed, and it is going to exactly tell the recruiter that what you're going to bring to the company, not what you gain. You will gain a lot of things being part of a company, definitely. But this is not the place and this is not the time to talk about those gains. You have to change the orientation of your objective statement from what you seek to what you give. This kind of orientation change is what exactly your career objective should reflect. Okay, so keep that in mind when you draft. You need to be very specific about it, because the more specific you are, the better will be the attention from the recruiter. And most important thing is that style of presenting your career objective. I suggest you that you need to draft it in a third person statement, like not first person or second person, I or you. I want to work in this company. No, you can never start your career objective with that pronouns. Okay, the career objective need not use any personal pronouns at all. It should be written as if you're talking about somebody, the other person, without using personal pronouns. Okay, that is how career objectives structurally need to be written out. I will show you an example as well, but try to understand we need to learn the skill of drafting our own career objective. Your resume is your own reflection. So don't try to copy and think that you can make easy job out of sending a resume. If you make very interesting career objective, impressive career objective, you have won half the battle. You will be called in for the interview for sure. So we'll look into it, how to draft that. Okay, I am going to give you a formula for you how you can draft your career objective, which is killer career objective, which gives immediate attention and which gives you the call for interview, right? I'm trying to put it in a formula, by that you engineering students can understand it easily, because we follow formulas easily, right? Formula is our food. Okay, what actually your career objective should reflect is this, 4 aspects. What is actually your objective is, it should contain your university qualifications and the skills you learn and how you're going to apply those skills, or which field or which area you're going to apply your skills. So your career objective should tell about your degree, the skills, the knowledge, the talent you have, and how you're going to apply these two. That's it. This is what basically the content of your career objective, nothing more, nothing less. But the skill is how to draft it. Okay, I'll show you an example how these 3 things can be put together in a pack and draft a career objective. Okay, let me take you to that where I can give an example. So remember that your student resume objective is your university degree, skills you learn, and the application part of it. I just simplified with simple alphabet for the sake of easy remembrance. But see that how each of these will help us. For example, when you're talking about university degree, like in what actually you are learning, what did you learn, what is your major, what is your specialization, like what are the distinctions you want, like what are the specific thing you learned that in that particular course. If you're an IT student, right, you might be learning a lot of programming languages, right, you might be learning a lot about in user interfaces, something more and more, right, data sciences, everything. The empty things are there in your degree, so you're going to take one or two out of them, talk about that in this part. And in skills, you're going to specifically telling the recruiter that what actually you've done in these 4 years of your time, by showing what skills you learn. Is it your skill in writing a Python program, or your skill in data mining, or your skill is in debugging, or your skill in data protection? What is that? So that skill you're going to highlight over here, right? It can be related to the topics or the subjects you learn. It can be achievements you earn, being winner in some competitions, or part of some hackathons or something like that. So knowledge gain must be mentioned there. And then the last part is how you going to suggest to the recruiter that how these skills can be put to the job, right? And what kind of area of job you think these skills are applicable. That is what you are going to write in this part of the right career objective. These are the three aspects you need to clearly mention in your career objective. To put it simply, your career objective is a single statement written in third person, right? Highlighting university degree with the skills you learned and projecting how those skills can be applied in your prospective job. Here I go and show you how you can write it. Okay, your career objective. For example, you can start. See, I'm not saying that I am an energetic or passionate IT graduate, or he is or she is. I'm just avoiding all personal pronouns. Remember, your career objective should not have any personal pronouns at all. It is not at all necessary. And writing or using personal pronouns make you look you are not smart. Okay, energetic and passionate IT graduate from VRSCC, where you are mentioning that you are an IT graduate. That's what university degree is. Record of excellence in artificial intelligence programming skills, having won second prize on the Microsoft Hackathon. Here you are talking about skills, that is your skills in AI programming, and that you are actually substantiating that achievement by clearly telling which place or how you won the competition. And then you're going to talk about how you're going to apply this, looking to leverage the knowledge and skills gained from the university in a career in AI programming. So you are saying specifically that you are looking for a job in AI programming because your skills in AI programming from your IT graduation. Okay, this is how you actually coalesced and put together and made a career objective. When I told you in the beginning that your resume is job specific, this is the place where you can see that if your resume changes because instead of AI programming job you want to go for data mining because you might be equally good, then career objective should also be changed accordingly. So you need to redraft it and you need to retwine it. By that, your career objective exactly matches with the job requirements and slightly changing the skills which you learn. A person might be having multiple skills, isn't it? So if you're applying a particular kind of a job, the skills that are relevant to the job need to be highlighted in your career objective. If you read this statement carefully, you will understand that I am not telling that I want to work in a great company, I want to gain knowledge, I want to learn something. No, I'm not telling what I want to seek. I'm telling them what I want to give. This is how your career objective should look like. Hope I am very much clear over here. All right. So we can try writing our career objective. If you like, you can try it. Right? I can give you 1 or 2 minutes time to draft your career objective of your dream career. Maybe you can read out, by turning on your mic. Pawan, can we do that?
Yes, sir. If anybody is interested,
Yes,
we'll
yes,
be
that's
much
true.
appreciative, sir.
That's true. That's true, guys. If anybody attempts a career objective statement now, in 1 or 2 minutes, right, you can read out it. So I'm just waiting for somebody to try it out. Remember, you need to talk about your academic course or the program you have done, and the skills you learn in it, and how you are connecting these skills to the job you want. Okay, this is what you want to do it. Pawan, is anybody trying? Can you see somebody typing there in the chat box?
No, sir. Unless and until they've
Yeah.
posted, we will not be able to watch it, sir.
Okay, right. So anyway, like then we'll proceed it. If you still attempt it, you can put it there on the chat box. We can, I can give my feedback as well on that. Okay. Okay, that's how career objective must be, and it is very crucial. Remember, guys. Then comes the education part of it. I tell you, this is one of the important sections for a fresher's resume because that's what you are going to sell to your recruiter. So a person with minimum experience or almost all zero experience cannot speak about any work experience because he's a fresh, graduate from the campus. So the area which he can gain much more attention is the education part of it, and it is very much straightforward, and it talks about what you did in your last 4 years. Okay, and you'll be talking about the course you have done, the university or the college where you studied it, and then the percentage or GPA you scored about it. So this is pretty simple, and I find people are using boxes in their resumes, right? With different columns like degree, university, college, university, percentage, year. This is how they divide it, but that's very traditional way of it. You can draft even sentences. For example, secured 85%, right, in IT of BTech from JNTU Kakinada, JNTU Hyderabad in 2020. This is a bullet point statement. You can write that way also your academic qualifications, but remember your academic qualification should always be in reverse chronology. That means the highest qualification to the least. If you are a fresh graduate, probably you can talk about your school education in sense like your SSC. But if you're gaining more and more years of experience, nobody cares about what percentage you got in your 10th class. But it's 85, 95, 65, doesn't matter because they focus more on your work and career. Being you people are all first year, fresh students, going out of the college, I suggest you can use the first, 10th class percentage as well also. And many recruiters also want that because they want to verify whether you have minimum 65, 75, the threshold cutoff as per the job requirement. So you can choose the traditional box method, right? Or you can use bullet points, but you should know what to be highlighted. If your percentage is very good, highlight that part. If your college is very famous and popular, highlight that. If your program is very much in demand like IT or CSE, highlight that. Okay, and don't highlight that part which is your weak in your qualifications. For example, your college is an ordinary college. If it is, I don't mean we are. I mean, if your college is generally not so very popular, mention your university instead of your college name, right? Highlight your percentage if your percentage is very good and impressive. Okay, in that way you can highlight it if you write bullet points. If you put in box, everything receives equal importance and attention. That may not give a clue to the recruiter which one you want to be highlighted. So I suggest to go for a little modern way of writing statements in bullet points. Secured 85% in IT from JNTU Kakinada in BTech 2020. Quite decent way to put it. Then go for an intermediate and then 10th class. That's all hardly 3 lines. If you have a PZ, you can have 4th line on top of it. Okay, but remember that must be in reverse chronology. If you write in bullet point wise, you have an opportunity to highlight, right, by using bold or italics, that section of the bullet point which needs to be highlighted. That option will be there. If you use a traditional box method, like most of the students are doing it, it will not fetch any attention. Okay, it will be just information. Okay, as I said, try to use reverse chronological order. But this is a point you should remember that should we mention our GPA or percentage, I suggest you better do that. If you don't mention it, even though it is a good percentage, the recruiter will believe that you are not mentioning it because it is less than what is your actual percentage. So why run that risk of being doubted and then missing an opportunity to be called in for an interview? Sometimes your GPA is crucial for a threshold to decide whether you are eligible for the next round or not. So in that case, if you ignore to mention your GPA, even though you have better GPA than the threshold requirement, you may not get the call because interviewer is not sure what is your percentage. and you don't think that you will call back and find out about it. It is not like your training and placement cell of your college where they'll be always after you, asking you to fill forms and giving you extra information. Recruiter will not have no such responsibility. If you fail to give your GPA, he'll think that your GPA is less than the required threshold requirement and throw away your resume. So better use your GPA, highlight it if it is very good on your education qualification sections of resume. Okay, having said all that, we'll go to the next important aspect. This is where I think Pawan has reminded me what to do about work experience, because as a fresh student, we don't have direct employability opportunities. So can we think of something what we can include over there? Because the recruiter knows that when he is seeking resumes from a fresh candidates or the less experienced candidates, he doesn't look for the number of years of experience, but he looks for what skills the candidate has, whether he is trainable, whether he is ready to learn something. Can we teach him our organization, culture, knowledge, skills, by that he can be part of our team or not? That is what he looks into it. So you don't need to worry about as a student that you don't have enormous experience at all. In many cases in our region, most of the time in our country, students will be under the guardianship of their parents, so they don't even need to do any kind of job at all. So having zero experience is a common phenomenon right in our country. So recruiters are not bothered about it, but what they look for in a candidate is whether the candidate can be trained or not. You need to demonstrate that. How you can do that, we'll see. Okay, so when you are trying to understand what we can keep in work experience, can you people guess what a work experience is, right? We can include here, right? One point is sure, your Pawan sir has already mentioned that internships can be mentioned, but anything else can also be done. Think about it for a while. Apart from internship, can we talk about anything in experience column, right? In a fresher's resume, there are a few things, right? I'll show you what are actually, right? Definitely internships are there because they are very crucial, and now that is very much common for all prestigious colleges. They are encouraging students to do internships, right? And they're providing opportunities to go for internships. So obviously you shouldn't miss, right, internships when they provide you an opportunity. That will give you double advantage. One is that will make you stand out of your competition. Moreover, being as a student, you can learn what actually industry is. You can understand the difference between industry requirements and the curriculum levels of your college or your university, and you will know that what is the skill gap and how you can plan to fill in that skill gap. This insight and this experience only comes by attending or by participating in some internships. I'm sure you all have one or two internship experiences, right, in your 4 years of program. Apart from that, you can talk about projects you've done, right, highlighting what are the important aspects you learn, what skills, what technologies you have used in your projects. And then you can talk about any part-time jobs you have done. That is what comes under transferable experiences. For example, I've seen some people who, out of interest or out of need, will be doing part-time jobs outside even during their college life. So they can be more lucky because they learn a lot of things, right, which college cannot teach you, right? So there is a beautiful book called What Harvard Doesn't Teach. If you read that, you'll understand how part-time jobs will give you enough exposure to the job market and a lot of soft skills that we need to learn, whether it is being, interactive with your customers or responsible for our job or handling, stressful, situations in our office or work. This all can be learned only when you start doing work. Textbooks can't teach all that. Okay. So these transferable experiences, that means any kind of part-time job experiences, that can be also mentioned here. Not the least, your extracurricular participation. For example, you're a member of NSS or NCC, whether you're a member of a club, coding club or photography club, or any other hobby club in your college, or whether you are doing some kind of social service, whether you are conducting some kind of events because you are participating in a lot of activities. These all come under work experience for fresh graduates. So I am sure 2, 3 will be applicable here. Am I right? So we want, actually, when we try to recruit people, we want people not just with academic knowledge and with a boasting percentage of marks. We want people with skills. skills that can be readily applied in a job. All those skills can only be learned during your internships, when you participate in extracurricular activities, when you have an opportunity to do take up a part-time job or a voluntary service, or when you actively put yourself in a serious and important project. So these all put together will give you enough boost to your career advancement and opportunity to get selected for the job. So a fresh candidate work experience can be amalgamation of all these kind of things and projecting them in a right format, highlighting where did you work, when did you work, right, the duration of the work and what skill sets you learned and what responsibilities you handle it. So each one need to be put in a separate subheading and write it about it. Okay, like I show you this way. Okay, this is how you can put your work experience. For example, you have attended one internship in a company called Made of Marketing Agency Incorporation, placed in Mumbai, as a digital marketing intern for about 4 months or so, right? These are the things you have done there as part of your internship, right? You underwent training for digital marketing, you published some posts on behalf of your company, you managed AdWords, account for your company, and your execution of a blogger. These are all the things you learn. These are actually the skills you are highlighting to the recruiter that, see, boss, I have all these skills, I'm almost ready for the job. So you don't need to worry about recruiting me because I'm ready for the work next day. So this is what you're telling to your recruiter indirectly when you highlight your internship experience or your voluntary service experience or your what can I say, your part-time job experiences or your project. If it is a project, write the name of the project and mention the technologies or the skills used, or strength of the project team and what is your role in the project team, and a brief description about project, what it is about. Okay, in 3 or 4 lines. That will give you a clue to the recruiter that how much work you've done, what skills or what tools you've used, you have an expertise it. Moreover, when you attend interviews, this part of resume will help you to answer a lot of questions because recruiters tend to ask questions related to your internship and work experience. Right? Even it can be an extracurricular activity like you've been a coordinator for a college fest. Maybe you are in the budget department, maybe you are in organization event management department. You will be learning a lot of soft skills like leadership, organizational skills, team management skills. When you mention those skills as part of your responsibilities, you handle it, you'll be directly marketing your skills which are applicable to the job you're requiring for, because they can teach you hard skills but they cannot teach you soft skills per se. They expect soft skills should be there in the candidate to a certain extent, by that they can be readily deployable given employment. So when you highlight these as your work experiences, you stand out from your friends. And moreover, you need to prepare this very, very carefully, diligently, by that you should be able to answer questions from this section. Right? When you have an interesting work experience, right? Interesting work experience, your recruiter tend to ask questions based on that work experience. So you almost are driving the interview into your own comfort zone, which will fetch you a lot of advantage. So it is a double advantage for you. One is that you are telling your recruiter that you are not an idle or a common ordinary student. Another thing is that you are almost driving interview into your own comfortable area, by that you can easily impress the recruiter for the job, isn't it? So work on developing such kind of paragraphs or statements with this order and this format. I'm sure you'll be hitting your target very easily. This is what we can talk about. Okay, experience. Talk about your projects, talk about your internships, talk about your part-time jobs if you have, talk about your extracurricular activities as part of this section. Okay, even though you don't have any ready job experience, projects, internships, and extracurricular activities can be highlighted, highlighting what responsibilities you handle and what skills or what activities you have done as part of that particular work. Okay, substantiate with some kind of actual terminology, which we call them as actually action verbs, like I underlined there: published, managed, execution. These are all action verbs. Your resume, especially that part of work experience, if it uses action verbs, it is more trustworthy and it catches easy attention from the recruiter. So friends, you have to pay attention to strengthen this part of your resume with accurate and impressive data. Now we'll proceed to the minor sections of our resume, like the skills we have, on the honors, achievements, like the competitions we want. Make sure it is brief and only highlight those things which are very, very important and relevant to the job. If you participate in every competition and if you want, a lot of consolation prizes, this and that kind of prizes, you cannot list all of them in your resume, which may run into 2 3 pages. That's not necessary, right? Highlight the top most important competitions, or the higher level of competition like state level or zone level or something like that, and then highlight what skills you used over there and which participation event and when did you achieve it. This kind of details as a bullet points will impress it. If you don't have really higher level, then you can go for the ordinary events of your campus or your department. It's still they're necessary. If you don't have really high level national, state level or zonal, go for regional competitions and mention it also. You don't need to ignore this section because they are not very important. But they are very important, whether ordinary, it is important to tell the recruiter that you do more than just writing exams in your 4 years. That is the point of using this section in your resume. You can talk about the skills like computer skills or foreign languages you learn, or anything service like NSS, NCC, right, in this part of it. But you need to be specific about what role you have done, what kind of work you have done, and what level of skill you have with foreign language. For example, if you know a language like German or French, what do you know? Do you know about only reading, speaking, or do you know about reading and writing as well? That levels need to be specific. By that, your recruiter will have an idea. Because if you just know, written that known language is German, your recruiter may assume that you know all the 4 things in the resume in that language: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. May not be okay. Then you'll be disappointed in the interview that you are not fair enough. So be specific in that. Nothing wrong if you know only about speaking of that foreign language. Mention it at least. That's a way you are showing that you are on the path of learning it more and more. So that will make you a better aspirant than other aspirant who doesn't even have any foreign language skill at even basic levels. Okay, level and the competency format or variety need to be mentioned when I say being specific. So this is another subsection of your skill set. And then we can look into personal profile. This is generally written as a kind of a column, like your date of birth, hobbies, name of your parents, and then gender, and few strengths like whether you're hardworking, diligent, or voracious reader, or writer, or whether you like gardening or something, whether you can manage time effectively, something like that. But don't be too ambitious over here. Don't write all the positive words as your strengths. Okay, it's not necessary. 2 3 more core important positive aspects of your nature, your character can be mentioned over there. You can mention areas of interest or a few things which you want to learn in future, like for example artificial intelligence in gaming, or artificial intelligence in industry, or artificial intelligence in social media, something like that. If you have an interest out there which you want to learn, you can mention the areas of interest. Your hobbies can be book reading, swimming, or cooking. There are students who write cooking as also hobby. I know I'm not talking about girls here. I'm talking about boys. I know one student who got selected in TCS years back has written cooking as a hobby, and in the final round of HR interview, the TCS Kerala employee HR manager asked him to tell how to prepare a biryani, and I am sure he has explained in so detailed way that he got job. Not that he is very poor in other skills, he has some internships and all those things, but what he mentioned in the hobby, he proved that is truth. So when you lie there in your hobbies, you have a chance of missing your opportunity because you appear that you are trying to bluff the interviewers. So don't try to put in fancy, high-sounding hobby just because they look very impressive on your resume. If you have it, if you do it at least sometime in your life, mention it. Because one of my students has written sometime origami as a hobby. I asked her what is origami. She didn't know what it is because she copied it from somebody else's resume. Origami is a paper art, making different kinds of object to using only paper, cutting it and folding it in a different ways and making it. It's a very popular art in Japan. It's a very creative and very talent, skill, hobby. Yes, it can be mentioned if you really know it, because in the interview, the recruiter will give you a sheet of paper and make an object for me, make an aeroplane, make a, Tata is something, make a flower, something he may say it. I know that in recruiters asking people when they mention that drawing is a hobby, they'll throw a sheet of paper to the student or the interview saying that draw my face on the picture. They simply test what you write over there in the personal profile. So I suggest you be genuine as much as possible. You can slightly, maneuver with the words and the phrases of your hobbies or your details, but don't go completely away from the fact because that will be detrimental to your chances. So you can slightly manage. I don't even use the word manipulate. Slightly you can manage with the information you provide there. But if you put off the way information, you will be caught somewhere in your selection process. So that would be even much more tragic than missing the interview call itself. So try to be as genuine as possible. Don't put hobbies for the sake of writing hobbies. Better develop some interesting hobbies. And writing hobbies like watching movies and chit chatting will not fetch you any positive impression in the recruiter unless you are a good analyzer of a movie, unless you are a good social, person, gregarious person that is required for a particular job like customer care and these kind of things. Otherwise, certain hobbies are irrelevant to the job you are applying for. Better not apply in this data part. Okay. And then we go to the last section of your resume, which is references. Basically, I follow a principle even till today is that I don't give references in my resume. I simply write a statement saying that references can be provided on demand. That's all. I don't write any reference names over there because I believe that it is not necessary always to mention the names of references unless they ask you specifically. But you don't need to follow my practice here. I'm telling you that is also possible. So best thing is that providing 2 3 reference names of your professors, your mentors, academic mentors, or if your job experience like part-time job or a voluntary kind of it, you can mention their names and how you are professionally connected to them, whether they are your HOD or your professor in a project or your PhD guide or whether they are manager in a part-time job you have done it. That relationship need to be mentioned, their name, their designation, and their relationship with you, your boss, your teacher, your mentor, whatever it is, right? That can be provided. Don't go beyond 3. 3 is maximum, 2 is ideal. Okay, 1 is insufficient. So give at least 2 and maximum 3. Don't go beyond that, however popular, TikTok star you are. Okay, keep it to 3. And my advice is restrain with 2. 2 best references if you want to include references. If you are my kind of it, you can simply write a statement politely saying that references can be provided on demand. Period. That's all. But if you have to provide the details like their name, address, that means their official designation and their official contact number as your reference. But remember that you call them and you tell them that you are using their names as references. And better give your resume copy to them. By that also, when they receive a call from the recruiter, they would able to speak something very good about you, which is relevant to your resume and your job. Right? We are allowed to do that because corporate companies do this background check. They call the references. Sometimes the reference checking will be given to third party. They do it so rigorously, like a detectives, right? They check every details of you. Certain jobs, certain companies, they do that for want of their own safety and security and better service to their employee. So take the permission of the people whom you are using as referees in your resume. Give a copy of your resume to them, right? Limit your references to at the maximum unless asked otherwise. If your company specifically say give me 5 references, give it, otherwise no need. Okay, limit it to 2 and only use professional references, not personal references. Okay, even they are professionally working somewhere or their employees, they are high rank people. Maybe if your uncle might be an IAS officer, but if it is only personal relationship between that IAS officer and you as an uncle and a nephew, please you don't need to mention it that. Okay, so keep these references are very professional, brief and specific. Okay, here again be careful with their phone numbers and their email IDs because that's where they get the reference forms and all that. Companies take this reference checking very seriously right before they offer you offer letter. So you should be careful about it. So this is the last section of it, but we'll be looking into some of the mistakes which we have to avoid. Generally, people make typos, grammatical mistakes. I told you that you wrongly put a dot in your email ID. Underscore is might be missing it. Instead of underscore, you might have written hyphen over there. Something might happen. It or your names or the spellings might go wrong, which reflect very badly on the attitude of the candidate, because your recruiter believe that you've been very careless in your effort to it. Sometimes I see that it is very funny or ridiculous, right? Father's name should come with an apostrophe s, Father apostrophe s. Many students do that very innocently, right? They make this blunder. They don't type the apostrophe, it becomes father's plural. See how ridiculous this mistake is. You cannot afford to do such kind of mistakes, because that make you look foolish in the eyes of the recruiter. So grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes need to be avoided, especially when you're writing about the title of your project, right? Description of your project. There can be two, three varieties of spellings are there. FO or for, FU or for, both are there in your Word document. So instead of FOR, if you write FUR, your Word document doesn't tell you there is an error. It will go like that to the recruiter, and the recruiter will be wondering what you're talking about. For FUR, for skin of an animal or something. Okay, so be careful about the typos and grammatical errors you make. And then don't try to use only one resume for all kinds of jobs. Each job, however they belong to same field like IT or computer science or mechanical engineering or other stream, the stream might be same, but the job might not be the same. The core skills, the additional skills might be different from one job to another job. So you should redraft your resume depending upon the job you are sending for. As I already mentioned it, resume is job specific summary of your skills and qualifications. So when I say job specific, you have to redraft every time. A different kind of slightly minor changes can be put in there and send it to you, that by that it fits to the job requirement. And then when you are highlighting about your work experience or your achievements, don't talk about the responsibilities you handle. Talk about what did you do as in that role. For example, if you are a HOD of it, don't say that I handled 100 people, right? 50 people. Say that you managed recruitment, training, deployment of staff member. That's how you talk about your accomplishments. Always be specific. Always try to mention in measurable, quantifiable units. By that, your recruiter understand what exactly you did in a job. Don't just mention that HOD of a department, team leader. No, talk about what did you do as a team leader. Have you arranged for a kind of team meetings like reconciliation, team management, or establishing proper relationships among different kind of team members. These are different accomplishments and job responsibilities you handle it. So don't talk about titles, talk about actual things you have done. That will get more attention from the recruiter, and that will be very specific for the recruiter to understand what your skills are. And be very specific. I've been telling you throughout this presentation that whenever you mention an information in your resume, be very specific. If you're talking about a job, talk about what is the title of the job. Talk about from which day to which day you are in that job. Talk about what responsibilities you handle it. Don't be vague. Be very, very specific. And another mistake people generally do, that as I told you, they make very bad objective statement. Very bad means sometimes all the 60 students of the same college, of same branch, will write the same objective statement for a campus drive, and then the recruiter will be surprised to see that everybody is having the same vocabulary, same statement, same punctuation, same errors also, right? Because it's copy paste business, right? From student A to student Z, the same statement is copied and there is same mistakes are continued. So don't do such kind of mistakes. Make objective statement based on what I told you. Talk about your degree, talk about the skills you learn, connect those skills with the job you are applying for it. Simple. Single statement, that means only one full stop, right? Talking about three aspects, it generally runs into 2-3 lines. That's all. As simple as such. You need to make little practice on it. Okay, there are a lot of websites on internet. You can find out how to practice it. You can also write to me when you attempt an objective statement for feedback and help. I will be happily supporting you. Right, there are a few more other mistakes that are generally done by our students. Right, they don't use any action verbs because they don't write it specifically. They say that they led a team. That is not action verb. What did you do as a leader? Right? Did you organize an event? Right? Did you conduct an event, or did you lead the team for doing a particular activity? Talk about that action verbs. Action verbs take the attention, grab the attention of the recruiter. Don't write vague, plain words. And making your descriptions too long and making it too short, right? Doing it in two extremes will be really tiresome for the recruiter. If it is too long, he will be dog tired and he will say that, oh God, I cannot read this. Why can't this by be very specific? If it is too short, you will be failing to highlighting what you want to highlight. So make it moderate and keep only the relevant information. Okay, it's like making a movie, right? If you make a movie that is too lengthy for 4 hours, 5 hours, do you expect audience sit there and watch your movie? If it is like half an hour, do you expect audience come to a multiplex just to see an half an hour movie? That's the same like your resume also. Human preferences, common sense works all the same. So write the description of your project or internship or your part-time job, right? Highlighting what the job, where did you do it, what role you have done, when did you do that, and what responsibilities you handled it in the format I've shown you. Nothing more. You don't need to write too much about it, right? You can't cut it short because you'll be missing highlighting important things. So this is one thing you need to be very careful about it. Don't put too much of text into resume. Resume is only brief summary. If you write it like a textbook, I'm sorry, the recruiter will not be interested in your resume. And in a hurry to make it too short or too simple, if you miss important information, that would be a costly mistake on the your part. Okay, don't ever remove very important information like the skills, the experience of the job you have handled, the title of the job, or the percentage in your academic qualifications, or the competition you won, right? Whatever it is, there in each section of your resume there is one focus area. That focus area need to be mentioned without being forgotten or ignored. Whether you forget or whether you ignore, right, the recruiter will understand that you don't have that. That means you don't have that skill, you didn't have that achievement. Then you will be missing that opportunity. Okay, so don't miss important information. Reread your resume and see that that is matching with the job requirement and all that. Take the help of a mentor or your senior or your friend who can help you, do this editing, drafting, and help you to see how best you can modify the resume. There's nothing wrong in seeking help, but make a better resume. And then I told you about it in the very beginning. Your contact information must be rechecked and rechecked, because a very slight mistake or an error in your contact information would result into a very tragic, right, consequence of missing the opportunity. Right? Instead of A, if you put O, instead of O, if you put I, instead of U, if you put T. Why? Because in keyboard, what happens is I and O are there same. Instead of your finger going on O, if you go on to I, yes, your information goes wrong. Your email might be wrong. Instead of double digiting the same number in your phone number, if you triple digit it, like instead of double line, if you put triple line, yes, you will be in biggest loss. So double check your contact information. Okay, that is the thing you need to give. These are all the common mistakes which students have to avoid while they prepare the resume. And we have almost covered, I think, all the aspects of it, from beginning to understand whether it is resume, biodata, or curriculum vitae, and whether it should be functional, reverse chronological, or a combination, whether it should be like 1 page or 2 page, or what are the sections, how career objectives should be written, what we can include as a fresher in our experience column, what kind of hobbies we need to mention, why we need to mention the hobbies, right? What are the mistakes we need to avoid. By that our resume look very perfect and impressive. Okay, and all the things we have discussed so far, right? And I would like to say that this is time for us, right, to have questions and queries. So if you have, you can shoot it to me. Maybe I can go back to the chat box. If you have questions, or you can unmute yourself and ask questions. I would like to hear you people ask questions, and I'll try my level best to clarify your doubts. So Pawan, Can we ask them to unmute?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They can hear you, and anybody is having any questions regarding any section that you want to put it in your resume, you can shoot to Mr. KK, and he'll be very happy to help us all.
Guys, please shoot your questions and ask me whatever the doubts you have about any section of the resume or your resume generally, right? The things which we have discussed, the things we couldn't discuss today, you can ask me questions about. Oh, all the students are there, guys. Sunday afternoon. Is it dosing time at? So, guys, let me have your questions. So, I'm closing my PPT for you. So, can we see questions from you guys? Oh, all the people are silent. You can type in the chat actually if you are not comfortable speaking out, but it will be easy if you speak out, I guess. Did I teach so good that you have no doubts at all?
I think so, sir.
Come on, Paul. Guys, shoot out your questions. I'm waiting here. Thank you that you liked the session and it is useful to me. But do you have any doubts? I'd be more happy. Okay, if you don't have doubts, you can type in which part of resume writing you liked most in my session. You can just write that part of it. By that I will know where I did well or where I did not do well. Okay, good. Alek, you can try writing different kinds of career objective. For example, one career objective for a programming job, one career objective for data mining, one career objective for teaching position if you are applying for it. Okay, so it's very important that career objective is docile or fashioned according to the job you are applying for. I'm happy that you liked it. Try to use that formula we used. Okay. And Ramu is asking whether it should be one page or our wish. No, it shouldn't be our wish actually. Because we have to keep in the interest and time of the recruiter in our mind while we prepare a resume. As a fresher, it is good if we can put all the necessary details in one page, at the maximum 2 pages. Beyond that, an ordinary fresher graduate will not have anything there to talk about more than 2 pages. So limit your resume to 1 or 2 pages at the most. Am I clear? So we cannot write everything in our resume. So don't put too many pages into your resume. 2 also, I'm saying that because there is enough decent length between each section, right? There is a space between each sentence by that people can read. There is a space between subheading and minor subheading and that. That's why it goes into 2 pages. Otherwise, if you slightly adjust it, if there is not much you can talk about yourself, 1 page resume is okay. But if you have to provide your internship details and project, that will be there. Project is there in your final year for sure. And all of you now the colleges are insisting on internship. You have 1 or 2 paragraphs to write about your internship, right, and your project. So definitely it goes into 2 pages, if not just 1. So keep it to 1 page. I mean 2 pages at the maximum. Right, Rikita is asking whether we should have a declaration. No, it is not necessary, Rikita, to have a declaration because you have to decide this based on like how much space is left over in your last part of your resume. For example, if you are writing 2 pages, if you are putting designing your resume into 2 pages, and then in the last second page of it, if it is almost like half of the page is still left vacant, maybe you can use one more column saying that a declaration and write that the above furnished information is true to the best of my knowledge, and then go back to your date and place and signature. But for example, your personal profile and your achievements are few more lines, they run into few more lines, and if your signature is going back to the bottom of your page of resume, avoid declaration. It is all your choice because that's not very important. It's not a legal requirement to give declaration. Hope I clarified your doubt. Okay, depending upon the space management, you can decide. Keep one reference resume to students. Right, Ramu? I will send you, Pawan, I will send you a reference resume. Right, you can share
Sure, sir.
among your students. Okay.
Sure, definitely, sir.
A
Definitely.
model resume I will send. You can share it. I'll send it to a PDF format. You can share it to
Sure, sir.
students.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay. Any more doubts, guys? If you like, you can put a thumbs up there. I can understand that you liked it.
Sir, I have
Maybe.
one more question.
Please.
Majorly, people ask me
Yeah.
what kind of profile pictures they need to put for their meetings, whether they'll be attending virtual meetings, like never before they have to attend the interviews
Yes.
virtually
Yes.
now due to
Now
this
it's
pandemic.
Yes, yes. Now it has become common feature. In fact, yes. What kind of
Yeah,
profile pictures? See, like it is our email ID, as I said, which should be professional. Our profile picture for the Google Meet or Skype or, for example, Zoom should also be very professional. It need not be passport size photograph. Pawan, you have put it on the brochure. My photograph. It can be slightly, semi formal,
you can
but
see my DP. You can see my DP.
that
That.
is very bad. No, you have kept your DP better and you have put my photograph there, a passport, right? So, guys, you have to understand one important thing is uh, make the profile picture for your online meetings semi-formal, right? That is enough. You don't need to make it really a passport size photograph. Okay, a semi-formal within a kind of semi-formal dress like a decent, neck T-shirt or a jeans or trousers or like a common typical Indian wear for girl students would be sufficient. Okay, if you keep flowers, animals, right? The monkey you saw in a forest, kind of it, maybe they won't reflect well on the part of your impression, right? And then we have got Alec is asking us, do you have to mention reference companies? No, I said you personally, I never kept references in my resume ever in all these 16 years when numerous places when I worked, when I sent resume, I never kept references names as part of my resume. I provided them only when they asked me at the time of final round of interview or at the time of offer letter, because they want to go for a background verification. So in a resume you don't need to mention it, it is not necessary. That's what I strongly believe it. You can simply make a statement there that references can be provided on demand. That's all. Okay. So it is not very important. Essential. It's not very essential. All right. Any more doubts, guys? Uh, I think Pawan, we could finish it in time. I think I run too fast at certain parts of resume. Right? We have taken
Yeah,
almost
but
exactly.
you covered all the points which I wanted to cover, sir.
Okay, thank you for that. We almost taken this just 2 hours, I guess.
Yes,
If we
sir.
take
Yeah,
exactly the starting of it, am I right?
yeah, yeah. We started
Good.
exactly at 10:15. Now it's
Yeah.
12:15. Yeah.
Okay, good, guys.
Students, if you don't have any questions, we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Shoot your
sir,
questions. I will wait as much time as possible if there are questions.
I hope everybody got their answers with the others' support and your
Okay.
well planned and well structured presentation. So you are a soft skill trainer and you know better how to present than anybody else, and
No,
everyone can understand that. I thank you for spending your valuable time and helping our students to get their resumes in an attractive manner. So building a resume is not a easy thing. We have to make it attractive for the recruiter because it
yes,
gives us the first impression before getting into
yes,
the interview room. So
yes,
first
yes.
impression is the best impression. Thank you for helping us to create a better first impression for all of our students.
Thank you, Pawan. It's my pleasure also to get in touch with your students, and if I'm really successful helping them, I'm more than happy for that. I thank you for giving me this opportunity as well to get connected with your students, and most importantly, after few months getting in touch with you, right, as part of it.
Yeah.
It's a happy thing for me too. Hope I've done my job better. Uh, Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Pawan, a lot. See
Thank you,
you.
sir. And students, I want to tell you, and he is the first person who checked my resume in my BTech and helped me to get a better job in TCS. I've got selected for TCS, and he is the first one to give comments on my resume in my student age. I know him for the past 11 years. He is a wonderful trainer, and we are very happy for you. Very happy to have you on this particular webinar, Mr. Shiva, sir.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy weekends. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Pawan, I'm
Bye, sir.
signing off. Yeah, bye.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll be signing out. Sir.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
you.